I'm Sagebrush Bob, and this is my brand new 2024 Topo Toppers Mesa Wedge Camper. If you're unfamiliar with Topo Toppers, they make a very tough, very rugged, basic camper. You have choices of the kind of windows you want, some basic electrical, and a few other things, but mostly what you're buying is a really rugged basic camper. They build on the assumption that they're going to provide you the base product that is the best in the business, and it's up to you, the owner, to outfit it on the inside the way you want. That's what we're going to do. Hence the clothing. It's work clothes. We're going to work on this over a series of episodes and make a good, compact, single-person camper out of it. In the end, it will have power, it'll have water, it'll have lights, it'll have a comfortable bed, it'll have all kinds of things that you need to be comfortable out there. So, let's get started with this. You'll see very shortly that you got to have a plan. So, stick with us. We'll be there in just a minute. We have to have a plan. I already mentioned that. What we have inside here is an empty box. It's up to us to make it livable. And the best thing you can do is the same thing as when I recommended that when you go camping, you take a notepad and a pen with you to write down what you want to change. Here you go, notebook. This is a graph paper notebook. I don't know if you can see it, but this page, this is our plan for the day. That's a map of the bed of the truck, what its dimensions are, and what I have to do to cut the floor. That's our function today, is to put in the floor. The floor is our base. Everything depends on the floor. It's got to be solid. It's got to be rugged, durable. You're going to have stuff on it all day. You're going to be walking on it all day. And everything that goes in here, all the cabinetry, everything anchors to that floor. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go in here and double check my measurements. Measure twice, cut once, right? Okay, gonna check my measurements, make sure they're right. Then I'm going to set up a sheet of 3/4 inch plywood over here, and we'll cut that to fit. And once it fits and I get it in there, we're going to anchor it to the bed of the truck. All right, let's get on it. Well, you see that I just made a change, because when I first measured this, I measured the length of the bed is 73 inches from the front wall to the back edge. And I just realized that I can't put the wood all the way to the back, because if I do, 3 inches of it is going to hang out in open space with no support under it, because these ribs on the floor end at 69 inches. So I'm going to have to cut the plywood at 69 inches and go from there. It doesn't affect everything else, but it does affect the overall length, so it's always good to check twice. Okay, we're done. Well, not really. The main part's done. You remember these? The pieces that cut out for the wheel wells? Remember I saved them, right? Well, you'll see what these are for in a little bit in the next scene. 4x8 sheet of plywood. The bed's 53 inches wide, so 48. We have 5 inches of space, 2.5 inches on each side between where the plywood stopped and the wall of the truck. So these are going to get cut down and filled in as spacers in the 4 areas in the front and behind the wheel well that still need some wood. So they'll get cut up and spaced into that. So I'll cut those and spray them so that they're watertight and all that, and we'll put them in next. And welcome back. Just like that, it's the next day. Nice clean clothes, beautiful bright blue sky outside. It's 20 degrees warmer than yesterday, so no sweatshirt. Woohoo! While we were gone, I realized that I didn't have some materials that I needed to make the 4 pieces for the corners of the bed. I had to get what they call furring strips, or little strips of 1/4 inch plywood about this wide, a little bit long. I needed some of them to lift my 4 pieces off the bottom of the bed a little bit so it would be level with the rest of the plywood. Anyway, got those, got some staples, got everything glued and stapled and sprayed and ready to go. So let's crawl inside and get these things mounted in the corners. That will center the big piece exactly in the middle, and when that's done I can start screwing it to the floor. Almost done. Got to get it screwed to the floor. When that's done, the last thing to do is I've marked 6 places in there by crawling underneath the truck and looking for the right places to do it, to drill 6 5/16 diameter holes, and some 1 3/4 bolts are going to go through that plywood completely through the bed and get bolted from underneath so that it will never ever move again. And that's the idea, so that nothing in there that's attached to it's going to move either. All right, let's go do it. Okay, this one now screwed in place. You'll notice that the boards, the big board is not flat. It's a little bit warped. It's just cheap construction grade plywood. But that's the reason you're going to use these screws initially to hold this down. We'll screw it in different places, but that will flatten it down, and you'll see it's the same height as these, so it'll make for a complete flat surface all the way down. And we'll do one on the other side and move to the back. Alrighty. And it takes care of the corners. Now the plywood can't shift around any. Okay, I want to take the time while we're here, and I got the sun in my favor. If you look here, get close enough. If you look here in the shade, you'll see marks here, 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 all the way across. Each one of those marks tells me where the upper side of one of the corrugations in the bed is. So I can take a framing square and lay it along this plywood and go that way with it and draw a line and know that that line's going to be right along the top of that ridge. So I can lay screws in there and screw everything down. There's the line, there's also across the forward wall at the front, and even all the way over here in the corner, I put lines so that I can find those under the plywood and not have to worry about it. So I will do that. You don't need to see me sit here and do a whole bunch more of these screws. I mean, after all, you just watched me do 15 minutes worth of screws, and that was only the four corners. The next, I have to go over that whole board in about 30 different places, probably, maybe a little more. So I'm going to put 30 or 40 more screws into that board to make sure it's nice and flat before we go to put the final bolts in. So you don't want to watch that. You don't want to watch this old guy crawling around in there for the next 45 minutes drilling holes? Nah, I'll get back to you when it's done. Hooey, it's been a long one. The last 2 days have been kind of busy. So anyway, I'm done. This episode is complete. The floor is in. The only thing you guys won't get to see is me drilling the 5/16 holes and putting the bolts through just to make sure nothing ever moves. But that's pretty straightforward. Drill the holes, put the bolts through, put the nuts on from underneath and call it good. So you've seen how the floor goes in. if you're going to do this yourself, just remember the plan. You got to have the plan. Spend a little time, make up a plan of how you're going to do it, what you're going to do, and then think of things that might distract you or get in the way, or measurements that you're going to have to change, things like that. Because as any old military guy will tell you, when you have a plan, no plan survives contact with the enemy, or in this case, the truck. So I'll see you on the next round. The next thing we're going to put in there, now at the floor end, is something to sit on. Storage bins with a piece of foam on top. It could be a settee or a bed or whatever. Anyway, that's going to be the next thing to build. I hope. Catch you next time. See you out there.